We've got breaking news as it's been a very busy past 24 hours for Giants general manager Joe Schoen as he is continuing to try to add talented football players to this team. He made a trade yesterday, signed a safety yesterday, and he made 4 more roster moves today. And we're going to dive into that here on Giants Now by Chat Sports. But first, we are in an intense subscriber battle with Texans Today, another channel hosted by my guy, Jeremy Chugs, here at Chat Sports. And he's been talking a lot of noise. They got CJ Stroud. The Texans think they're finally here, but they are not better than the New York Giants. And I know the Giants real ones are going to hold it down for me. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe and help us pass Texans Today. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. We've got breaking news, and I've got a brand new headset on today. I want to give a major shout out to Turtle Beach, and we'll tell you more about them around the corner. But let's start with the roster moves off with maybe the most surprising of the day. Veteran DB Jalen Mills, who was signed by the Giants just a couple of months ago. He will never play for the New York Giants as they are moving on and they are cutting him. He never even practiced with the New York Giants. Well, I guess that's unfair. He did in the spring, but at training camp, he never practiced. He was on the NFI list with a calf injury, and you would have thought that he was a guy that was going to earn a roster spot. Joe Schoen made him a priority free agent signing him early on in NFL free agency, added a veteran to a very young safety group, but he doesn't make the team. And I thought it was more so because of the injury that he was dealing with. But Adam Schefter came out and said, Jalen Mills is healthy now. So if Mills is healthy, and we had him on the NFI list, and he wasn't practicing, what is going on there? And I also don't love that Joe Schoen, 2 guys he signed early on in free agency, Jalen Mills and Jordan Phillips, are no longer on this team. What are we doing? I don't really understand, but I do see a little bit of a youth movement as I try to see that same vision that Joe Schoen is seeing. Mills, he signed a 1-year deal for $1.3 million, had a signing bonus of $167K and $467 guaranteed at signing. Obviously not a major cap implication by cutting him, but I would like to see the guys that Joe Schoen makes a priority to sign in free agency. They end up making this team and be a big part of their success. With Mills out, another safety on their way out because the Giants, they signed another safety. Signed one yesterday, signed one today. We'll tell you about him later. I'm actually pumped up about that safety. But Elijah Riley, who has spent some time with the New York Giants, came out of Army. He is not going to be on this team. The Giants cut him. I don't think it's because of the injury, but he is dealing with a little bit of a concussion. So he is out, as well as Jalen Mills. The Giants, they signed a safety yesterday. They signed one today. Reinforcements for the back half of that defense. We'll talk about the safety that they signed coming up in a second. We'll also talk about a running back that the New York Giants signed. Tyron Tracy, Deonte Miller are dealing with some injuries. Now they go out and sign with a running back. I'll tell you more about them around the corner. But first, I got to give a major shout out to a brand new sponsor here on Giants Now by Chat Sports, and that is Turtle Beach. I'm rocking my new headset. I think it looks better than the old one, and I know for sure it sounds better as well. And you can get hooked up by going to turtlebeach.com/chat and using that promo code chat for 10% off. If you're a gamer like I am, and you like stacking dubs like I do here at the Chat Sports Gaming Studios, you need to get hooked up with their new Gen 3 Stealth 600 headset. It picks up so much crystal clear sound, it's basically cheating. You'll hear every footstep, every reload, and every enemy sneaking up on you. Turtle Beach, it doesn't just have amazing headsets, though. They have every gaming accessory you could ever want, and they are all high quality at prices that don't break the bank. If you're a gamer like me, you know you do not want to be in a party chat with someone who, one, has a terrible echo with their headset. It's always dying and they just do not sound good. That's why I only use Turtle Beach headsets when playing online with my friends or in the offices here at Chat Sports. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. For a limited time only, head to turtlebeach.com and use code chat for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order today at turtlebeach.com with promo code chat. Check them out. I'll make sure all that information is clickable down in the comments and description of today's show. Once again, I want to say thank you to Turtle Beach for sponsoring today's show, and I can't wait to beat Seeps tonight, and he can hear me crystal clear as I'll be talking some noise. The New York Giants have signed veteran 26-year-old running back Joshua Kelley. Kelley has spent the last 4 seasons with the Los Angeles Chargers as he was selected by the Chargers back in the 4th round of that 2020 NFL draft as he spent his last season in college at UCLA. And he actually has some solid production in his NFL career. And with the Giants having some injuries right now at that running back position, Tyron Tracy dealing with an ankle injury, who actually was surprisingly participating in individual drills today after being carted off earlier this week. Crazy stuff right there. And Deonte Miller dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury. The Giants bring in another guy that they can rely on. I don't know if he'll play Saturday against the Texans, but in that final preseason game against the Jets, he'll probably see a pretty strong workload there. He's also seen a good workload so far for a backup back in his NFL career. Back in his rookie season, he played in 13 games for the Chargers, 111 carries, 354 yards, but just 3.2 yards per carry. And as you see, 3 out of the 4 years, under 4 yards per carry. Solid in 2022 when it comes to efficiency, though. 69 carries, 4.2 yards per pop, 2 touchdowns. The guy's got some tread still left on the tires while also still having a solid workload and a good amount of NFL experience. He can also be a playmaker out of the backfield in the receiving game. Had 50 catches over his NFL career in 54 games played, 6.4 yards per catch in 319 yards. So now you get an entire look at this Giants running back depth chart. Devin Singletary, he's your RB1. Then you got guys like Eric Gray, Tyron Tracy, and Deonte Miller competing for that RB2 spot. Now you got Joshua Kelley and Lorenzo Lingard, 2 free agent acquisitions and additions that you have signed within the last week. And I actually think that Kelley has a shot to make this team. 4 years spent with the Los Angeles Chargers, had some production in the NFL before, and with injuries to Tracy, who knows when he'll be ready to rock and roll and how long Dante Turbo Miller is out. Guy's 26, added to a relatively young backfield with Gray, Miller, and Tracy. I think he's got a shot to make it. It'll be dependent on how he plays in that 3rd preseason game against the Jets. Maybe he ends up playing against the Texans, and that could also help his chances. The last roster move we're going to talk about on today's show is Jonathan Sutherland, the safety who spent last year on the Seattle Seahawks practice squad. He was a 2023 UDFA out of Penn State, but was a 4-time team captain. And we're going to talk about the leadership that he displayed, not just as an Nittany Lion, but also with the Seattle Seahawks as he was on the practice squad last year. But he has never played an NFL game. And he describes his play style as physical and gritty. And he was a Pete Carroll guy. And this is what Carroll actually had to say about Sutherland last year, saying he's really aggressive, very instinctive, and had some really nice hits on special teams and defense. He played good football for us. He's played a couple of different spots. He's playing some nickel and some safety. He's been very versatile so far. I really like him because he's been a very instinctive football player that has a knack for going for it. And I think the reason that Sutherland ended up being cut by the Seahawks earlier this offseason is because he was a Pete Carroll guy. And as we know, Pete Carroll is no longer there. He played really well in the preseason, though, back in 2023 for Seattle. Played in over 100 snaps in the preseason. And as you could see, his Pro Football Focus grades were awesome, grading out above 71 in defense, rush defense, tackle, pass rush, and coverage. 106 total snaps. He had 6 tackles and 4 pressures. And like Carroll talked about, he played all over the field in those 2 preseason games. 9 snaps coming off the edge at that D-line spot. That's why he had those 4 pressures. 32 snaps inside the box. That, I think, reflects the physicality that he plays with at that safety position. Just 7 snaps at that free safety spot, and then 57 snaps in the slot. So I see a guy at the safety position that's going to, if he does make this team, be a 3rd safety that they play at times on the field next to a guy maybe like Jason Pinnock or Dane Belton or Tyler Nubit. Sutherland's going to slide down in the box, be that big nickel that can help in run support and get after the quarterback on passing downs. You're going to have to fight to make this roster, but I'm not sleeping on him doing so, as the Giants are kind of thin there now. I know they made some additions with Layne yesterday and Sutherland today. You got Pinnock, you got Belton, you got Tyler Nubin and Javarius Owens, who is also dealing with an injury of his own. So to recap the past 36 hours, which have been extremely busy for the New York Giants, here are the roster moves that Joe Schoen has made. Free agent signings: Joshua Kelley, running back; DB Raheem Layne; DB Jonathan Sutherland. You released Jalen Mills. You put Elijah Riley on the reserve injured list, IR, essentially ending his season. And then you traded Jordan Phillips and a 2026 seventh round pick for a 2026 sixth round pick. A trade with the Dallas Cowboys. That, my friends, was crazy. Make sure you are following me on social media. It's the first spot you would have heard about every single one of these roster moves. I tweet about right when it happens. So if you never want to miss a thing when it comes to Big Blue, hit me up on social media.